morning, everyone. Want to welcome each and every one of you to another live broadcast of Wealth Building Wednesday, right here on the Facebook pages of the Selma Center for Nonviolence, the Black Belt Community Foundation, and we are also on YouTube now, y'all. Hello. You can find us all over social media, and you may just be listening to the audio rebroadcast on our media partner, WBFZ Z105.3. However, you are choosing to tune in to Wealth Building Wednesday, we want to welcome you. This is an extraordinary opportunity for you to take just 30 minutes out of your day to make sure that you are tapping into all the great resources, y'all, because wealth, we want to close that wealth gap. We want to make sure that our families are positioning ourselves to, hey, for that next generation, we want to make
Absolutely.
sure that we are securing the bag, securing the future for our next generation. So this morning, I am super delighted to reconnect to a hometown favorite, y'all. Nicole
Uh,
Reeves is, yes. She is an amazing young lady who is now based in Dallas, Texas, but hails from the historic city of Selma, Alabama. Y'all, she has had her own personal journey to success. She has found her niche and she is focused on finding resources. Right, making sure that we as business owners are plugged into understanding the importance of diversity and inclusion, understanding when we see D&I, what does that mean, right? What do those terms mean? And she's going to help us so much. I want to just welcome you, girl. Welcome to Wealth Building Wednesday.
Thank you for welcoming me. And I just want to apologize to everyone up front. I am on my cell phone this morning, so my angle's going to be a little off. I was going to try to do it cute, but I can't work with this cell phone too much. But glad to be here. Thank you, Lydia.
Absolutely. And I just full disclosure because folks want to know how do you pick your guests?
Mm.
So Nikki and I, we've known each other for years, right? And I've always known that she's been a rock star, greatest one alive still. Listen. And so she made a post a couple of weeks ago that really touched me in a different way because she talked about the importance of embracing her journey and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that she's now in a place where she can help folks, right? And that this is actually a part of her purpose. So all of us, right, we've got to make sure that we're enjoying this thing called life, that we are traveling and enjoying this journey, that we're working towards finding our purpose. And this interview in particular is a part of our series dedicated to entrepreneurs and small business owners, because if small business ownership is a part of your purpose and is a part of your journey, we want to make sure that you are able to enjoy that journey to the fullest. So Nicole is here with us this morning to just really kind of talk to us about all things diversity, inclusion, and talk to us about accessing resources. Because as we know, we are in the midst of this thing the news keeps calling the great resignation, right? So, entrepreneurship, starting small businesses, there are tons of opportunities out there, and we just want to make sure that folks are equipped and able to take advantage of those things. So, starting off with the idea of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is it often emerges in a lot of folks' lives as a journey, a part of their journey rather. So, are there any tips that you would like to offer folks on how to better embrace the journey? Because when we travel, we know that when we're driving along the road, there's some curves, there's some hills, there's some descents that we might not be ready for. So, are there any things that you can just say quickly to the folks about how to better enjoy that journey?
Absolutely, Lydia. And let me just disclose this. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone's measure of success is different. I'm not as successful as some. I'm more successful than others. We are always on our own trajectory.
Yes.
So the things that I'm saying, take it with a grain of salt. Take what you need, throw away what you don't. What I will say is, one, entrepreneurship does not have to mean that you don't work, you know,
Okay.
that you're not an employee or that you're not assisting others in their journey as well, you know, but it is important to always have your own. to secure your own legacy. So if something switches up, you'll be prepared to pivot. Secondly, I would say embrace yourself. Authenticity matters. Okay.
Yes.
um, Trying to fit into the box, trying to be what someone else thinks you need to be successful is not always success for you. And relative to the journey, I would just say, for me personally, some things that didn't make sense at the time or that I thought I couldn't handle prepared me for the things that I'm doing now. So, not saying be complacent, not saying be content.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, don't down yourself for where you may be.
Awesome words of wisdom, man. Awesome words of wisdom. Because, like, even with that authenticity, walking in your own, along your own path, so critical and so important. So now, as we consider folks or people who are considering entrepreneurship as a part of their journey, how important is it? Because we hear these terms around diversity and inclusion. We even get, let's say, even political ads in the state of Alabama right now who make fun of, right, people who are part of diverse populations. How can we look to consider people who have been considered late or labeled as other, right?
Mm,
When we're on this entrepreneurial journey, how important is it for us to really step outside of who we identify as and to understand and try, or at least try to understand who other people are?
mm, got it. You know we here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, Lydia, I think going back to the first point about authenticity,
Yeah.
it's virtually impossible to gauge anyone else, any others, or even amongst your own constituents, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're unsure about who you are, or if you're
Okay.
not settled on the direction you're going in. You don't have to have everything figured out, but at least be clear in what the goals and objectives are, where you're trying to get to. And I'm not trying to interject religion.
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe in a higher power. Faith, you cannot do it without faith. Ask for discernment when interacting
Yes.
with people. Everybody is not your people. Every contract is not your contract. Every client is not your client. Every partner is not your partner. Not saying that they're a bad person. So I think it
Right.
goes back to being secure and authentic, first of all. Secondly, know your value proposition. Don't sell yourself short. Do we see every day how hip hop culture, black culture,
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic culture, LGBT culture, or all of these other things are being used to commercialize.
Mm-hmm.
So there is value, there is social capital in what you bring to the table. And let me just say this with the term diversity and inclusion, because a lot of
Yes.
times that is getting used um, as a just a word, especially since the Black Lives Matters uprising.
Exactly. Yes.
Nevertheless, it is a real thing, and it does not only mean race. It means a region,
Mm-hmm.
perspectives.
Okay.
So just broaden your horizons and don't undermine yourself.
So now let's dive a little bit deeper into the use of the terms diversity and inclusion. I'm
Sure.
so glad that you've taken a step in this direction because typically from when even when I was talking about what we were sharing going to be sharing today, folks was like, "Oh, okay, so you it's basically like making sure that businesses include people of color."
Mm,
I'm like, well, no, it goes beyond people of color. So can you help us to better understand like what diversity and inclusion actually mean and how they impact our business? I mean, you've already
absolutely.
started talking about the commercialization, but how do they impact
Absolutely.
business?
Absolutely. And let me just say this because
Mhm.
I am employed. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
And but the comments the comments that I am making are not on behalf of my employer.
Right.
They are my independent my independent thoughts
Yes.
regarding diversity and inclusion, because we do have a vendor diversity and inclusion program.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, the statements that I'm making are not mutually exclusive to us, okay? Legalese. With
Yes.
that being said, diversity and inclusion is more than a buzzword. It has evolved since the inception of these conversations about supplier diversity and diversity and inclusion that emerged during the civil rights era.
Okay.
Okay. Now it is becoming more of a value add, and you have certain standards, especially public companies have to meet certain requirements, but it's
Hmm.
beyond just social responsibility. It's beyond the right thing to do. It impacts their bottom line at the end of the day. The From a commercial standpoint, consumer wise,
Hmm.
we know we spend some money.
Yeah.
Okay. The demographics of the country are of the US anyway are
Right.
shifting tremendously.
Hmm.
Most of the marketplace is beyond the borders of the United States. So when you look at the global market, diversity, it as far as ethnicity,
Yeah.
language, perspective, taste, just culture, um, it's so many things infused into that word. But as far as a company, or a institution or government entity looking to procure services or contract
Hmm.
with persons utilizing that, it there is a metric involved, that
Okay.
there is a benefit, because let's be honest, it's not just from the goodness of their hearts. Okay, let's
Right.
be real.
Right.
It's about money.
Right.
But also there is a commercial impact in addition to the social good.
So if I'm a business owner, I'm gonna say I'm a small business owner. I'm in small town USA,
Mm,
and I am like, you know what? I'm just I don't agree with this particular group of people. Whether it's the Black Lives Matter, it could be LGBTQ. Like, what impact could that have if we take a stance as business owners and just simply don't supply goods or want to cater to or provide service for an entire demographic?
whew, that's heavy. That's
Yeah.
real heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think, look, girl, I don't know if I can address that one in
Okay.
one conversation, but I will say this, because first of all, you have to think about capacity, and
Okay.
I think a lot of reasons that we restrict our growth is because we attach our business practices to our emotions. I'm sorry.
Mm,
Chop me down. It is what it is. Okay.
mm,
Or our
right.
politics. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing. Nevertheless, I do agree with being principled. And you
Okay.
remember we had the little principal ownership wealth acquisition. I remember that.
Yes.
So with that being said, having principles is important, but that's just important across the board as an entrepreneur, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or whatever. Having integrity. I
Yes.
personally, I wouldn't want to be doing bit. I'm not gonna get into specifics because I don't want to
Right.
get chopped down,
Right.
but everyone has a right to do business with who they choose to.
Right.
Nevertheless, I think you restrict your growth if you limit that, at least early on, until you have the capacity to make sure that your value proposition, the goods or services that you're offering,
Mm-hmm.
can be floated by the demographics that you're looking to
That you want to
target,
cater
right?
to. Okay.
Or that you want to be exclusive to. But I think to look at a global marketplace, which
Yeah.
we really have to look at this thing as being global. It's beyond Selma, it's beyond Alabama, it's beyond Texas, it's beyond the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, we are in a global market. There are 5-year-olds out here who know 8 languages.
Yes.
And we're around here struggling with English.
Okay.
So I mean,
Yes.
chop me down. It is what it is. 2-7 in this thing. So
Yes. Valid point. Like, real talk.
yeah.
And it's important for us to consider those things because when you look at just what you talked about, the fact that we can stunt our growth, we can limit
Mm,
our ability to actually do good by choosing to exclude folks. You know, come on. Let's pan back, right? Let's not cut off our nose to despite our face.
Right.
Let's keep that nose and let's figure out a way, because what it does, it limits our not just capacity to grow as a business, but from TRHT perspective and from
Mm-hmm.
Selma Center perspective and BBCF, it limits our capacity to love from the
Yep.
Christian perspective, right? So why
Absolutely.
limit yourself? Why limit yourself, small business owners? So now, how can or why do you think there are, and this may be something that we'll have to wrap back around to, but why do you think there have been so many instances, especially recently, that folks feel so comfortable in excluding folks? Um, yeah.
Girl, this is business, but that's why I made that disclosure. The comments I am
Yeah.
making are coming from Nicole Jacqueline Davina. Um,
Yes.
with that being said, I think from a personal, interpersonal, and systemic means, we are traumatized.
Okay.
People are dealing with their historical frames of references, their
Mhm.
comfort zones, and we are afraid to grow. Whether that, and I'm just gonna put it out there,
Yeah.
whether that be white folks,
Mhm.
black folks,
Mhm. Mhm.
green folks, whatever. I think we've been. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because I know it can be said. I'm not there anymore. I can't speak on it. But I paid my dues in that community,
Yes.
from a grassroots level to a governmental level, you know what I'm saying, from a professional standpoint, and
Yeah.
then having my card, okay?
Okay.
With that being said, I think that specifically in that region,
Mhm.
um, it has been a matter of playing offense, right?
Mm.
Trying to prevent someone else. But what happens, the Bible said, he who diggeth the pit falls
Yes.
in it.
Yes.
So what the circumstances that we're dealing with, and I say we because it's a we thing. My family is still there.
Mhm.
Y'all know them.
Mhm.
Um, you know, as we fall in the pit
Yeah.
when we dig holes for others,
Mhm.
whether that be for political reasons, racial reasons, or just being traumatized. I think you have to look at it from a strategic standpoint and look long term
Okay.
and look at the best interests of the children, the
Sure.
generations behind, the legacy that we're looking to leave for these communities.
Yeah.
And get beyond your personal feelings. Get out your feelings.
Yes.
And I don't want to speak on the dead, but I had a conversation with a great legal mind, who is no longer with us,
Mhm.
who was a Caucasian gentleman, and I'll leave it like that.
Mhm.
About 10, no, over 10 years ago, when I was legal secretary for Jimmy Nunn. And I said, such and such, you know, why are your folks, why are your folks trying to hold on to the past?
Mhm.
He said, why are your folks trying to hold on to the past? You know,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, what the conclusion was, that we came to in that conversation, is that there are a lot of mindsets that are going to have to die
Mhm.
in order to prosper. And and when you start falling into that pit yourself and
Yeah.
impacting your own property values,
Right.
impact your quality of life because of crime rates, because you're trying to suffocate others, or or you feel intimidated to go to a certain part of town,
Mhm.
um, because that's designated for other people. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, girl, listen, we now
Sorry.
we can have
I'm
it. Look, because we could have this conversation for
sorry.
hours. Because I
Ain't
mean,
got nothing to do
you
with
and I
business.
have always had this connection, and we've
Yeah.
always engaged in this type of discourse around not just the politics, but the historical things that have fed into the disenfranchisement of community,
Right.
right? um and so that actually is a part of why, a very huge part of why we felt like, as TRHT Selma, that Wealth Building Wednesday was an asset that we needed
Mm,
to add to the community. Because whether we choose to understand, embrace, read about, learn about, walk through, the history of Black folks,
mm,
especially, right? Being able to say, own property. Truth be told, there have been some systemic things that have held Black families back from wealth development or growing their wealth. I point to the GI Bill being unequally shared with Black soldiers who were coming back from war, were limited to certain neighborhoods, right? Redlining became a
mm,
problem because if you could cut the mustard, if you will, and qualify, then these are the neighborhoods that you can move into,
right.
as opposed to their Caucasian counterparts that were not, there weren't these stringent, okay, this is where you have to live. And that's where suburbs, kind of took off,
Right.
after the GI Bill. So and for folks who are listening or who are tuning in and don't understand why we're referencing real estate, the
Mm,
number one thing that everybody, whether you're talking about millionaires or the top 1% of wealth wealthy families or wealthy individuals, the number one thing they all have in common is real estate investments. The reason why real estate is so important is because there's is a finite amount of it. You can't go out into the middle of the ocean and create more land. So there's a competition. Real estate in New York City is more expensive than it is in, say, Otagoville, Alabama, because there's a finite, if you want space on Manhattan Island, right? That's
mhm,
very expensive. But if you want to buy, a couple of acres of county acreage, right, and start a farm, that's a less expensive endeavor. So we have to really put these things into perspective, and I'm glad that you went there, because it's really important for us to consider these things. So now I want to um, ask you about opportunities that are available,
okay.
right? Considering the disenfranchisement that has occurred, considering all of the folks who are now stepping out and saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. I understood. I got it right during
Right.
COVID. Like, I see where my job stands on me. I know that multiple streams of income, like you opened up saying, look, it's okay to have multiple streams
Yeah,
of
it's
income,
okay.
have a job and a business,
Absolutely.
right? So that being said, what opportunities are out there that you think that we need to prepare for, um, and how do you suggest that we go about getting started with that?
Absolutely. I think that we are in the golden age of information. Okay. So whether you are in 6 Mile Creek, if you have a
Mhm.
Wi-Fi connection, or if you're in the middle of Arlington, Texas, um, you can access pretty much the same resources. It's just a matter of the investment that you're willing to make with your time, your energy, and the development of your business, and whether or not you're competitive. Because let me say this first before I get into um, just some. I do a high level overview of procurement in that space, right? In the diversity space, and why it is important to look at those designations. And it's not just a number, or it's not just, some social program where there's a set aside that and we have to do this.
Right.
Um, with that being said, the prerequisite for everything is that you understand your business. No one owes you anything. I hate to say it. I mean,
Right.
well, actually, you know what? Actually, they do. Okay.
Right.
All right. Actually, that's
They're
what
not going. They're about to
you
pay.
say.
Not to pay
Okay.
it.
Actually, okay. All right,
Yeah.
girl. Stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So, but in the context of competitive business, right? In the context of entering the marketplace,
right.
offering your services, whether that be I'm a marketing consultant, I'm a lawyer, I I I do custom design pillows, I whatever your graphic designing services, catering services, whatever your business is, you have to know your business and know it well, and know that you are the best at what you do, or at least you're the best that does it like you do it. Secondly, is to leverage your authenticity, right? To leverage your cultural frames of reference, to leverage to leverage the historical disenfranchisement that has
Mhm.
been done to your group of people. Okay, because at the end of the day, that is a big part of diversity and inclusion. One word that is left out a lot of times is equity. So it is
Yeah.
about equity. Nevertheless, you have to be qualified from a federal government standpoint, many state governments. I am not sure about the city of Selma, Dallas County, and surrounding areas as far as their inclusion programs, but many institutions and businesses have set asides or either have designated programs to ensure equity in
Okay.
decision. Okay.
Mhm.
So once you know you're qualified, you're great at what you do, you're competitive, you have a real business plan, you have the capacity to execute. You're not
Mhm.
just going to get a check and run with it and go out, go to Prattville and
Right.
spend it up. You're going to actually invest it back into your business. You're not going to say you're going to do something and then they can't find you after you get your money. You have to operate in integrity,
Yes.
and then research your areas for set aside programs and specific requirements for those programs. Some require certification. Many private companies require certifications because they want to ensure that it's owned, operated, and controlled by the people that say they are, and it's not just someone putting up a front.
Okay.
Um, to access those resources. But like I said, it's just not enough time to go through all the resources that are available. The Small Business Administration has a lot of resources for small businesses in general, but you may want to look at their 8A program if you're interested in federal contracts. The agency that I used to work with, Minority Business Development Agency,
Mhm.
under the Department of Commerce, is the only agency that is designated to minority business.
Okay.
They have a plethora of resources right there. I think the closest one that I'm aware of is in Birmingham, Alabama. Mobile, Alabama has a business center. I want to say that Jimmy Coleman used to have resources to operate business centers there. So there's definitely access to those resources in that area from a federal government standpoint. And there's a lot of money they have to spend. So it starts with the research and being prepared and being qualified, and then having integrity.
Yes.
And before you go into contracts or trying to procure $1 million contracts, manage $100 contracts well.
Ooh. Well, she just dropped the mic on that one, y'all.
Right.
Yeah. Nicole, we're gonna have to have you back because this has
Yes.
been so helpful. I'm sure that there are folks on the line right now, folks who are going to be listening this afternoon who are like, "Oh my God, who is she? How do I get in
Oh,
touch with her?" Listen, let me tell you, she's not local. Look,
yes.
but she is very much
I do dip
accessible.
in and out from time to time, so you may see me.
Yes, but she's very much accessible. Like she said, we may see her from time to time in Selma and across the Black Belt. She's done tremendous work before leaving us to pursue further greatness.
Oh,
And we will definitely have her back. This is such an important opportunity for us to be able to have this type of conversation where we talk about the real, the realness, dig into what's really happening, but
yeah.
also helping folks to access, get prepared, y'all. So what
It's
she
all about
encouraged us to do, yes, preparation.
preparation.
Preparation matters. So It's all about preparation. If you are not ready, listen, if you can have not shown yourself worthy of being able to manage $100 contract and you want these $1 million, multi-million dollar,
Nope.
multi-billion dollar government contracts, federal prisons are made for you. I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah.
so we want to thank you again, Nicole, for joining us this morning on Wealth Building Wednesday. We are definitely going to have you back.
Oh, okay.
Y'all, if you are watching live on Facebook, please take the time to share this video with your folks. If you're watching on YouTube, please take the time, capture the link up top, and make sure that you're sharing it. You can email it out, you can text it out. Y'all, this Wealth Building Wednesday is designed to share valuable information from folks like Nicole Reeves. So again, we want to thank you for being here. We want
Thank
to encourage everyone to tune in live next Wednesday, 10 o'clock a.m. Or if you're listening on our media partner, WBFZ 105.3, make sure you are connected every Wednesday at 1:30 Central Standard Time. So until next Wednesday, listen, we better be out here building our wealth.
you. That's it.